On today's show, I am joined again by Glen Willis of ATL 29 to discuss two different players in player capsule form. It's Keaton Wallace, it's Jacob Toppin, and it's coming up right now.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 2032 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Friday evening here into Saturday. And today's podcast is brought by the folks at the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. I also want to encourage you at the top of the show, as I always do, to make a Locked On Hawks your first listen each and every day. Check us out and subscribe to the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. That includes Apple and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so please like this video as you're watching it and tell your friends about the show. This is our third podcast of the week on a Friday evening. Also, our first show of the month of August. We'll have plenty of content coming up later on this month. Earlier this week, I did a mailbag podcast on Tuesday evening into Wednesday, covering all kinds of different things about the Hawks. Before that, Glen Willis will be joining me on this podcast. Also joining me to talk about Mo Gay on Monday. That was a fun show. I would say a very interesting player for the Hawks. And basically, these player capsules are designed to be deep dives with nuance that only you can get if you are really covering the team each and every day. And today, it's a two-pronged edition of player capsules. Keaton Wallace first, and Jacob Toppin. And spoiler alert, I would say the Hawks have done a very, very good job with their two-way contracts, and in particular with Wallace and Toppin, guys who can play and help them this season if needed. And that's kind of the theme of this episode. But without any further delay, we'll dive back in right now with myself and Glen Willis talking about Keaton Wallace and Jacob Toppin. I'm joined once again by my good friend Glen Willis for some more player capsule content. Glen, we are still wearing the same clothes we were wearing when we talked last. How are you?
I'm good. Maybe I should be like a pop diva and go do a costume change in between these things, yeah.
People always wonder if it's the exact same time we record, because you have the background with the clock in it. It's the same time every time, and it's not the actual time that we're talking.
That is a picture of a wall in the house I rented before I bought the house that I would live in now.
Yeah, whatever works, man. I'm remote right now too. It is what it is. But anyway, we're gonna do kind of a combo episode this time about the two returning two-way guys. So we'll kind of put Eli Njai to the side. He's going to be a rookie. It'll be interesting. We'll talk about him. We already did a little bit in summer league. But Keaton Wallace and Jacob Toppin are both back. They're both signed, sealed, delivered on two-way contracts, and I wanted to kind of do a combined mini capsule episode on the two of them. Not going to make my my boss Nick Angstead do a two-parter on Keaton Wallace a la Garrison Matthews. Glen, you'll appreciate this. I had dinner with the Locked On guys at Summer League, and one of the lead points of making fun of me on the entire conversation was that episode. The two-parter with Garrison Matthews is apparently legendary in Locked On circles. So that's
Garrison is a fun player to talk about because he was just an outlier type of guy on the roster the last few seasons, in that sense. So hey, you get two sickos onto a podcast and stuff happens.
We had fun. Anyway, let's talk about Keaton Wallace. Sorry, my voice is giving out. Keaton Wallace is back. He has an interesting situation in that he kind of has a role in theory. Like there's a role available. And usually on a two-way guy, you wouldn't pencil out in. But I don't know if you've seen this before. People are regularly will like, oh, Keaton's just the backup point guard. And it's like, well, no, he's on a two-way contract and they have other guys. But because Kobe hasn't played, and I discussed this with Tyler, I don't really understand the Kobe animus, but that'll be put to the side. But because Keaton is back and played well last year at times, like gave them important minutes, I want to lead with that and say, look, I've said it multiple times, but Keaton was very valuable to them last season on a two-way contract. He was the perfect two-way guy. He helped them culture-wise. He helped them on the court. He played minutes when they needed him. That's exactly what you want on a two-way contract, and earn him another one. Everybody likes Keaton, so none of it is negative. People have framed me as anti-Keaton. I'm not anti-Keaton at all. It's very valuable. I was pro the two-way. Like I'm excited to have him back on a two-way contract. He also is not like going to be like a breakout guy, in my opinion. He's 26. He'll be 27 pretty soon. And age's not the only thing that matters, but he's not a rookie. He's not a 20-year-old. Like they're signing him to do basically the exact thing he did last year, which is provide insurance, provide defense at the point of attack, give you a point guard in College Park if you want one. Like, he checks a lot of those boxes. Is that a reasonable? That was me talking, not you. Is that a reasonable way to set the table for Keaton Wallace returning to Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, he's really perfect for the slot that he's in, right? If they get into a situation where they have, Nickeil Alexander-Walker misses a couple games, turns an ankle, whatever it might be. I mean, I think people don't realize like how good of a defender Keaton Wallace. I mean, he's a legitimate NBA level defender. Great point of attack. His screen navigation is excellent. And by the way, on the Kobe stuff, I'll just say this: Hawks fans that are down on him, I will just tell you that is not how the Hawks feel about him. The Hawks still have a lot of confidence in Kobe, so just keep that in mind. But for Keaton, it's like to have a guy that you can. I mean, if you need to ramp him up to 20, 25 minutes in a game because you're resting a guy, 4 games in 6 nights, whatever it might be, the schedule kind of compression and all that sort of stuff. You never worry about what he's going to give you defensively ever, right? And so that's, I think, for a guy who's on a two-way, that's an exceptional kind of thing to be able to kind of lean on, in that situation. He can go defend the other team's starting point guard. He's capable of doing that. Now, on the offensive end of the court, it's more of a catch and shoot guy. He can run a pick and roll, but it's not going to be he's not going to be a guy who's kind of moving defenders like Trey does, and causing a defense to kind of overreact to something. He's not just that. He's not that kind of offensive player. But he's made himself into a good catch and shoot guy, and he does a 0.5 on the catch. He either puts the ball on the floor, attacks the closeout, passes or shoots. He does all that sort of stuff. So he's a young veteran, I might say, but he's just been around the NBA long enough to know, like, this is what my team needs of me. This is what my team expects of me. These are the things they're going to ask me to do. These are the things they're not going to ask me to do. And he just leans into that stuff that he can do. So having a guy who, I mean, I think they won 3 games last year that they don't win if not for what he gave them in those 3 games. For a guy in a two-way, that's pretty impressive thing to say. So I'm excited he's back as well. I think he gives them just more depth defensively in the backcourt. And I think that's something that is good. There may be 5 to 10 games next year where they need him. And because of his level of defensive competence, that helps, right? A lot of the games that the Hawks lost last year with all the injury churn second half of the season was because they didn't have depth in the front court, right? And so and now they're kind of building more depth there and such. But so for me, it's like he's organization first, team first. I'll do what he asked me to do. I'll take the assignment. I'll go out and play hard, play the right way. And that defensive competence is just really valuable to have to be able to kind of elevate him into the actual rotation in games where he might be, managing a schedule compression or something like that.
Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. We've probably already been there at some point in our lives, logging on early and waiting forever for college tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for some reason for a show you're actually dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with all the stress of ticket buying, and that's where Gametime comes in. At Gametime, they make getting college tickets, well, sports tickets, etc., faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime or game time. You can save 60% off the tickets with our killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of the endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal possible, they actually have zone deals at Gametime. We actually pick the best seats for you in your section. And the app also shows you a panoramic review of the seats inside the venue. No surprises when you actually get inside. And with Gametime, the price you actually see, the price you're actually going to get and pay with no hidden fees. If you're worried about what happens if plans change, they have a Gametime guarantee. It makes your back be covered by cancellation protection and much more. Take all the guesswork out of buying tickets right now with the folks at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account at Gametime and use that code. It's LOCKEDONNBA. That's Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. I'm glad you led with the defense because that's the thing that guard defense. It's kind of variable, but I think that he's definitely more like NBA caliber ready on defense than offense. That's just fair to say. Like, he is a good defender. He is good size for point guard defender. 6'3" like has good, physicality, plays hard. All that stuff is correct. And you use the term young veteran. It's true. He was in a 2021 draft. Like, he's been around for a while. He's played like 130 G League games. a guy that knows how to play. And then defensively, like I said, there's some lineups where you can play him with Dyson or him with Nikhil or even him and Kobe, like where they can be really potent at the point of attack defensively, just blowing up the ball. Like if you want to play that style, especially when Trey's unavailable or whatever, it totally makes sense. I do want to throw out like, and it's not anytime I use on-off numbers for one player, it's never just the player. They can impact things. We said it with Moge recently, like. They had awesome numbers defensively with Moge on the court. They were awesome on defense with Moge playing. He's a big part of that. He isn't the entire part of that. Keaton is very similar. But it also kind of mirrors what we are probably going to get into here with Keaton. The on-off numbers for Keaton last year were what you would think they are. The offense was pretty bad with Keaton on the court. And again, that's partly because he's playing largely minutes when Trey's unavailable. So Trey off the court in general has been an offensive problem for the Hawks. It's not Keaton's fault, but he's playing without Trey 90% of the time and without Jalen a bunch of the time. And they had very limited offensive play, offensive personnel, right? But they also had really good defensive numbers with Keaton on the court. Part of that's him. He's good. He's much better than Trey defensively. We all understand that. And you're playing some, I think Quinn also leaned into it a little bit when Trey was unavailable to say, basically, we're going to try to play it ugly tonight. We can't score with you, so let's make it ugly. And it worked at times. So long story short, we could probably agree. Like Keaton is, I think, a pretty clearly below average offensive player at the NBA level for a guard. That's fine. That doesn't mean he's terrible. He's not. He has skills and a good defender, but it's a two-way. He had the one big game. I'm sure you'll remember this one against Chicago, where it was the Keaton Wallace, Daquan Plowden show. And they won a game because those guys had great games. And it was actually a lot of fun that night, honestly. And then he played big minutes, I don't know, 5 or 6 times with Trey out. But offensively for the season, he had 50% true shooting, which is not very good for a guy who's like, you mentioned it kind of in passing. He's not like a pure point guard. He's more of a scoring guard, spot shooter at the NBA level. Like he's not going to break you down off the dribble to pass in the same way that Trey would. Now Trey's an outlier the other direction, but Keaton like kind of has to have his shots go in. He's not creating huge separation. He takes some tough shots and he takes some catch and shoot shots. That's kind of what he does on offense for the most part. He was better in the G League, different level of competition, but he was 58% true shooting in the G League. That's actually good for a guard for sure. But he's not, in the NBA, he shot 47% from 2. He doesn't get all the way to the rim that much. Like, I'm not picking on Keaton. It's just like I have a hard time sometimes because I'm like, we got to acknowledge what he is and what he isn't. And we did just lift him up in what he is, and he has real strengths, defensively, culture, all that things. But offensively, he doesn't give you starting or even rotation level offensive play a lot of the time at the NBA level, and that's fine. Like he's a plug and play guy. Am I being unreasonable?
Not at all. So, I mean, the thing for me is that he has the mentality you want offensively. Like, if I'm open, I'm going to shoot it. Mm-hmm. If my defender's closing out on me, I'm going to put the ball on the floor, break the paint, create a pass, or whatever it might be. But I think it's fair to say, like, he's never going to be this like high efficiency kind of guy. But all they really want him to do is make the right read, make the right play, and embrace what they want to do offensively, which is, cutting and motion and all that sort of stuff. And he does that. He does what they want him to do. So he's just the word that comes to mind for me is, even though he's not, super gifted offensively, he's a responsible guy on the end of the court, right? Yep. Makes the right read, makes the right play, does the right thing. And that's what you want. If he's open at the 3-point line, he takes the shot, right? If he's on the catch, if there's the guy closing out, he's going to make the right play, make the right read. He's just even though like we're talking about, like, he's never going to be the standards of actual NBA rotational guards offensively, but he still makes the right read, still makes the right play. And that's something that you want. What coaches really can't tolerate is a guy who's like, oh, I'm going to break process, because I can't do this or I can't do that. He plugs right in and does the things that they want him to do, even if it's not at the high level as the guys who are in the rotation all the time.
Yeah, you mentioned he takes about 8 free-sprinter possessions. That's a good number. He can shoot them off the dribble. Like, he doesn't shoot a ton of them off the dribble, but he can. That's an area where he can at least get you end of shot clock. Like, he's not a zero. Like, he can get to a look that will go in sometimes. Like he had a couple of big scoring games. The big one was that Chicago game, but he had a couple more where he had 15, 17 points and like made some shots, and he can do that. Passing, like he'll make the simple play a lot of the time. He does give you another ball handler, which is just like, while he's not like an elite ball handler, he is an NBA level guard ball handler. And if you need to throw out a lineup with 3 ball handlers on the court against pressure, he can do that for you. He can be one of your 3 guys that is bringing the ball up the court. That's a nice thing to have on an NBA. I think having Keaton back, I was never in the like they absolutely have to sign another point guard camp. I would have liked them to, honestly, but having Keaton back lessens the need for that. Even as someone who's a little bit skeptical of Keaton's offense at the NBA level, he can play minutes and not kill you. We've seen that now. And having another guy who can do that to go along with Kobe, to go along with Kennard, to go along with Alexander Walker, et cetera, like having a guy that we know not all 2 ways are created equal. If they had signed, I know it was reported, I'm not picking on Lamont Butler, it was reported erroneously they were going to give Lamont Butler a 2-way contract. I like Lamont Butler, but he was going to be an undrafted rookie, and there is inherent uncertainty with that. Like, you don't know if that guy can play. You just don't when you sign him. Keaton, you've seen him play 500 plus NBA minutes, and he was not embarrassing. Like, he was totally fine, and that there's a big gap between what you can project and count on from someone like Keaton Wallace versus a rookie you're signing, even a second round pick that you're signing. And then they didn't have one. But if they had the 40th pick in the draft, that player is not going to be as good probably immediately as Keaton Wallace is right now. So there's some value in that.
Yeah, and for a team that everyone's talking about, not just us, the East is wide open right now.
Oh yeah,
right?
The Hawks are right there.
To have your if he's their 6th guard or however you want to count their guards, right? Would to have that high of a floor is meaningful, right? And so he's a high floor defender, and like we talked about, makes responsible choices on offense, and that'd be a guy you can turn to if you're, down a guard or whatever. Like, he's just going to come in and jump right in and do all the things that you would ask him to do. Again, offensively, not quite the same level as some other guys, but I like the word responsible for him.
Yeah.
Right. He's just a really, really responsible, trustworthy guy that coach can trust to be on the floor, even in critical minutes. I mean, there's games where, I wouldn't shock me. There's some games, where he's, 7 seconds left. The Hawks are up 2 or 3 points. He's a guy they throw on the floor to go out there and help them defend a possession.
That too.
Yeah. It would surprise me, because he's that, he's the super responsible, trustworthy, solid guy on the defensive end of the court that you can trust, even in on a possession where it's going to swing the game one way or the other. And that's great to have as a 6th guard.
Yeah, if he's active that night for whatever reason, or Trey's hurt or something, maybe throw him out there on defense on the possession. He's good in that area. And also, we won't go long on this because we'll get to Jacob Toppin in a second, but the Hawks do care about the G League, like, more than most teams do. They care about it. And having a guy like Keaton Wallace, to where, like, he's going to be in the G League some. That's what 2 ways are. Like, and to have a guy like that, he played 20 games last year in the G League, even with everything else that he had to play more than he was probably supposed to in the NBA. And he still played 20 games in the G League. And having a guy like that with your College Park crew is actually really helpful. Like, he's a pro guard and knows how to play and get you in your sets, knows the system, been around for a year plus now. Like, that's a small benefit to, like, most people. But from the team's perspective, having that safety at point guard in particular in the G League is, like, very, very useful. That they like that.
Yeah. And a lot of, like you're pointing about the ball handling too. Sometimes I think fans don't realize how exhausting it is for a starting point guard to bring the ball up 70 times, whatever number of possessions.
Especially in the current league. I mean, teams are speeding up even more and more now. They want to do that.
Yeah. So to have a guy who can, even if it's just 12, 15 times a game, in games where he's playing where Trey can start off the ball and just conserve a little energy, then bring Trey onto the ball, like that's big, right? I mean, I know you're watching on TV, it's like, he's just dribbling the ball at the floor. Like, I think people don't realize how exhausting it is to do that over and over and over and over across a game. To have a guy like Dyson who can do it, have a guy like Kobe that, we'll see, what his role is like, but to have other guys who can kind of bring the ball up, get you into your set, then bring Trey into the ball, just save some juice. A lot of times where Trey was taking a shot at the end of the game last year, and I didn't always love the play designs and all that sort of stuff, But I mean, NBA coaches give their guy the opportunity to kind of go. But for me, a lot of when that didn't go well, and Trey's made a ton of game winners in his career. I mean, he's been really good. But there have been other times because they were so shorthanded, I thought he was just exhausted at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And that impacted his ability to kind of create a quality shot. And maybe there's an opportunity with more, a stronger guard group going to the roster this year. There's an opportunity to have him be a little more fresh at the end of the game and hopefully better results there.
I agree. We are certainly in unison that it was a really good two-way signing. I can speak for some reporting that the Hawks were very happy to have Keaton back as well. They offered him the tender of the qualifying offer that they don't have to offer that guy. That made clear they wanted him back on that contract. I think their preferred outcome was him on a two-way, which is what happened, and that means everybody should be happy with what transpired there with Keaton. We'll get to another guy on a two-way in a second after a word from our partners. All right, Glenn, we just talked about Keaton Wallace. Let us discuss the other kind of veteran level two-way guy, and that is Jacob Toppin, who played Summer League. So people have just seen him play some. He got hurt in Summer League, hopefully not terribly seriously. I've not gotten a formal update about that, but he was still around the team. And by all accounts, like everybody that I talked to, even non-Hawks people, were like, hey, Toppin looks good. I'm like, yeah, he does. He's playing really well. I think you said this. I know I did. I thought he was their best player.
Yeah,
for sure. Overall, in the games he was playing in, he was their best player in Vegas. Even ahead of Kobe, ahead of Asa, like he looked really good. So Jacob Toppin was kind of Keaton was much more known to Hawks fans because Keaton was much bigger part of the NBA team last year, right? Toppin was in New York a lot of the last season. He didn't come to Atlanta until I think it was March. People know his brother, of course. But for anybody that didn't watch Summer League or only just saw him in Summer League, what are the Hawks getting? Jacob Toppin on a two-way. He's 25 years old, but like besides that, 25-year-old forward, like what's the package? Like what's the appeal of Jacob Toppin in your mind?
Yeah, so for me, like watching up close, like we got to see in Summer League, the thing that jumped out at me that I feel like you can never really kind of get just watching on TV is the confidence he has. He plays with a ton of confidence. He totally trusts his ability, totally trusts his skills on both ends of the floor. And to me, it kind of starts with the defense. I thought he was really impactful defending on ball. I know that the one that jumps out at me is that the game against the Suns, where in the second half, Brian Bailey put him on Brea, and Brea couldn't do anything after that. I mean, literally couldn't. He scored a ton of points in the first half. The second half, he couldn't get to anything. And I thought that was big there. But even on the other end, like offensively, when the ball finds him late shot clock, he doesn't panic. He puts the ball on the floor, creates a shot, tries to get to the paint, tries to get in front of the rim. When he catches the ball in a catch and shoot situation, he no hesitation at all, no conscience about like, should I shoot this, should I not shoot this? And so for me, it was just like he exudes so much confidence every minute he's on the floor in that setting. Now, to try to think that's going to automatically and perfectly translate to an actual NBA game, where his role will be different, it might be there. But I'm like, how did the league like let this guy get on a two-way with? Because I mean, he was the most confident player on the Hawks by a lot,
Yeah.
And I know people were talking about kind of some of the stuff that had Kobe going on, and I was talked on a couple podcasts where, to me, it looked like the coaching staff was just letting Kobe go out and wanted him to be vocal, wanted him to take charge, wanted him to be empower himself and all that sorts of stuff. And something I've commented on is that. And this applies really across all the games that I watched in person, was you normally in Summer League, you hear constant coaching of the young guys, like just constantly, you're in the wrong place, get over here. The Hawks coaching staff was like almost like non-verbal, like they threw the team out in the court and said, you guys are going to figure it out, right? And we're not going to be over here and kind of be talking you through everything. And Toppin was a big part of kind of taking some pressure off Kobe at certain points in the game and things like that. So for me, he looks like a guy who knows his path to making real money in the league starts with his defense. But at the same time, you can see that his time with College Park last year, he learned what they want him to do offensively, which is 0.5 everything, play on the catch, take the shot when you're open. And so he's already embracing all that sort of stuff too. So he really, I mean, for me, the Summer League number one he was just a lot of fun to watch. Really, really enjoyed watching him play. And the second thing is we mentioned the confidence, but the other thing is he understands what they want their players to do. right? And he's only with the Hawks the last couple months, like 6-7 weeks of the season. I can't remember what was the time frame, but for him to have all that stuff clicking already, really impressive to me.
Yeah, and he, this is to make it very broad and silly. Like he is that 6'8" athletic forward that everybody looks for, right? Like he's the archetype that you want. There's some scoring chops in there, at least the G League level. I don't know how much that is going to go to the NBA. He might just be a catch and shoot and 0.5 to your point, quick passes, ball movement. But he averaged 22 points a game in the G League last year. Like you don't fake that. That's not like you can't do that with no juice at all.
Right.
So he has a little bit of that. But you're right. I think defensively is going to be his calling card at the NBA level right now. Same kind of thing. I wasn't poking fun at it, but like because they don't have, if you look at the traditional depth chart, they don't have like a supernatural backup small forward. I'm using that in giant quotation marks. The answer is really Dyson or Nikhil to that question, as to who backs up Zach. But Toppin could play real minutes. Like I'm not saying he's going to play every game. He won't. He's on a 2-way contract. But if you get, I would say that he might be one injury away from like being a guy they need to play some. And that's the idea of having a 2-way guy for depth purposes. And I think he's like the prototypical, much like Keaton at the guard spot. Toppin is a guy who, like, if you got to play him, he's going to guard for you. He's a decent enough shooter. Like, I don't know if he's a great shooter. Like, there's some signs of him being able to shoot. I think he's improved there. His mechanics have cleaned up from what I actually went back for summer league and watched him shoot some in college compared to now. Mechanics are way better now. As it happens in the NBA, guys just get better. That's what happened. Yeah. But defend, shoot some corner threes, make the right decision. Like, you can't go wrong with that combination if you need depth. Like, he may not have a ton of juice, but like, that another guy who was on a 2-way, like Keaton, you know what you're getting. Toppin hasn't done as much in Atlanta, but as far as what we've seen, like that's a kind of another ideal 2-way who is not a kid. Like he's a full-fledged adult who can play minutes for you if you need him to.
Yeah, and the thing that kind of comes to mind for me on the 2-way is Hawks feel like Ace is not ready first month or two of the season. Toppin buys you time to not have to put Ace on the floor.
Look, Glenn, let's just be real. People are gonna be mad at me about this. That's fine. If I have to play 20 minutes, if something happens to Jalen, whatever, pick your guy that's hurt. It's October 17th or 23rd, or whatever it is, the opener of the season. If you tell me I have to play one guy between Asa and Jacob Toppin at the 4 for 20 minutes on opening night, I would choose Toppin. And It's not because I don't like Asa. I like Asa. Yeah. Very clear. I like Asa. Asa was good in summer league. Jacob Toppin is 6 years older than Asa Newell. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's not a shot at Asa at all. I'm sure people are going to think that. That's fine. Rookies are not good generally. Jacob Toppin is in a better position to help you today than Asa Newell is, and that's fine. It's not about the two of them. But you're right. Not to cut you off, but that pathway of just like, hey, and also I think we all need to do this, and this includes me. This is a team now that is trying to win. Like full stop. They weren't last year. They weren't trying to lose, but this is a team that's like in competitive window mode now. They're trying to win every single game, and guys like Jacob Toppin matter more when that's the case. It's not just triage. Like, hey, you're going to win a game on a Tuesday night. You don't want to get killed for 12 minutes that night at that spot, and they think that he won't get them killed. If that makes sense.
It does. And for me, like, to be clear, I think Asa has a super bright future.
Me too.
I think he's going to be really, really good. A great draft pick. I love him. I love the mentality you hear him talk about, like, how I got to get better at this. I got to get stronger, and just him embracing the things that he knows he has to do. That really is an endearing quality he has, to just be transparent about, this is who I am right now, and this is who I have to be in the future. And you just love that. But a guy like Toppin, who's a little bit like Keaton, responsible, has the benefit of having played in College Park last year, to learn that this is this offensive system we run. This is what we expect of our people. And that carried right over the summer league, where he was, doing those things. So it won't surprise me if come February, if they're starting to, give Asa some playing time, at some point in the season. But Asa's going to need, I don't know, 10 games in College Park, 50, whatever number. Like, Asa's going to play down there some, for sure.
Yep.
But I mean, Asa impressed me a ton in summer league too. But Toppin just gives you like high floor, responsible guy, both ends of the court. He can defend. I don't need not on point guards, but he can defend wings that handle the ball. He can do that. He works. I mean, he was a really good rebounder in summer league as well. Just very active and applied himself. And it's just the thing that again struck me is his composure and confidence was just not something you always see in summer league. Guys are trying to figure it out or be in a new role or whatever. I don't remember seeing a single possession where he was lost, didn't know what to do. That never happened, and for a guy who played, had less than 2 months, was part of the organization for less than 2 months last year. To me, that's just super impressive. I think he has a real future in the league. On the last ATL on 29, I was talking about how the Hawks at some point might need to put him on a real contract because he's that good. He's that good. And Kevin and Tyler were like, well, the other team can't just come in and sign him. I'm like, a lot of organizations don't stand in the way of a guy on a two-way who has a chance to go get on a real contract on another team. Generally, like there's a little bit of courtesy there to let that guy have that opportunity. And so it's gonna be interesting to me to see like if they bump him up to a real I mean, he's that good.
Well, they also might go in. They also actually was on my list to ask you this at the end. Like as we're recording this, they have an open spot, right? If they don't have to sign anybody,
right?
Hawks fans won't like that, and I would understand that, but they don't have to sign anybody. And if they don't, he's the kind of guy that you might look up in January and they converted him, or they've negotiated one of those friendly deals with.
Right.
Like he's the I think between him and Keaton, he's more likely to get that deal than Keaton would be.
Yep.
That doesn't have to be that guy anyway, but it's just one of those things like, yeah, there's multiple options here. I echo the rebounding. Like I think he's averaged like 8.5 rebounds a game in the G League in his career. Like he's a real rebounder, especially at the three. Like, I mean, he's the only other guy that also, I should say this, they have a bunch of guys who are like 2-3 combos, like Dyson, Nikhil, Veed, even like that kind of like.
Yep.
Top is really the only guy on the roster that's a 3-4.
Yep.
Like Zach might be a 3-4 in another year or two when he's a little bit stronger and bigger. Maybe he's already there now. We'll see. And Jalen's really a 4 who can maybe fake it at the 3 a little bit. Top is like a real like combo forward. He's like the only guy on the roster that's like that. So it's just interesting that kind of throw that in there too.
Yeah, it gives you some flexibility. You need to play him at the 4, he can do that. You need to play him at 3, he can do that. You need to play him alongside 3 guards, he can do that.
If you're facing a team that's got a bunch of like big, I mean, not a ton of those guys, but if you're playing your Kawhi defender one night or something like that, like you might have a situation where you need him to go out and guard the best player, which is crazy. Like you wouldn't project that, but if you get one injury and it's like, hey, we want to have somebody small defend LeBron tonight or Jacob Toppin, you might have to throw LeBron out there. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah, for sure. Like you going to OKC and you got Dylan Shea. Like I don't think you draw Toppin as your first choice there. No. Like I said, the point guard's probably a little bit of a stretch there, but to handle Jalen Williams, as a secondary creator on that team, then that's something that you can line up there. You go down to Miami, you need someone to deal with Norman Powell for 5 minutes, a half, or whatever it might be. Then you got that option. And so I think those secondary kind of guys, the little bit bigger actual wing ball handlers and creators, is someone I would trust him on, in a real game. And that says a lot for a guy on a 2A. But it is going to be interesting to me to see if they just keep him on a 2A the whole season long. To me, he's too good for that. But at the same time, I'm sure they're kind of seeing where these there's like 6 to 8 free agents. Everybody's kind of waiting on landing somewhere and seeing kind of what the leftovers are for that, if they want to do that or not. But to me, I would love for him to be in this organization for next 3 to 5 years and just continue kind of growing into that role. Because in my mind, he's a guy you can trust. He's not a guy who's going to be right now, not a guy who's going to be in rotation every single game, but he's not far from that for me. And so that's helpful.
Yeah, the bar is really high for a guy like if you can find someone who's a 6'8" forward who you think can really defend and actually shoot, like those guys, you don't want to let those guys get away. Like,
yep,
I'm not saying the shooting is not a guarantee. Like there's his college numbers were not incredible. I'm not telling you he's an awesome shooter. We don't know that yet. But if he becomes a shooter that they trust and can hold defensively, that archetype of player is very valuable to have. I know he's 25 already. I don't want to be misleading. Like I always, when I do it for Keaton, this is same thing for Toppin. He's not a kid. This is a guy who's 25 years old already. Like that does matter. He's not like a huge, like he's not 20. But as far as like rotational guys, look, okay, Glenn, I'll ask you this, and we'll get out of here. Next season, 26-27. Can you see a world where Jacob Toppin is like the 9th man on the Hawks?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Me
I mean,
me too.
it's dependent upon kind of which way they swing with the draft. Do they draft a guy that is, so we'll see where their draft pick falls and, how it goes. We'll see. Do they win the lottery? Do the Bucks or Pelicans put them in?
You see all kinds of things. But like the point really is like for a guy in a 2-way contract,
to
have a reasonable pathway, and I think he does. Like again, he's going to have to shoot it, and he's got to play well. There's a lot of uncertainty there. He's not at the NBA level. He does not have that record yet of a guy who is. We're being very positive, and I think with good reason. It's worth acknowledging at the NBA level, he hasn't really done anything. He's played some minutes for the Knicks in garbage time, but a year from now, there is a path anyway for him to be a rotation player on a good team. And that for a 2-way guy is like hard. You can't find those guys.
And to your point, like where the Hawks really struggled last year, post Jalen injury, post Hunter trade, was just having no size. And to have to your point earlier, to have a guy who's 6'8", who can defend wings, who can rebound, and I mean, offensively too, it's not just the catch and shoot. I mean, he knows when to cut. He knows how to create, motion on the weak side. He knows how to get into the split. I mean, he does all the stuff that you want him to do. So for me, I think he's a real player. I think he's a real player, and it would not surprise me at all to see him be an instrumental part of this organization going forward, because it's just hard to find guys who are as big as he is that can defend the way that he can and have that kind of versatility. And so for all 3 2-way spots, they've really gone defense, but Toppin has more offensive juice than I think some people realize now. To see him kind of develop some consistency, is kind of the trick there. But to me, it's like when they signed him last year, I was like, how did the league let this happen? Because the dude is like a really good athlete, runs the floor really, really well. And like I said, the thing that jumped out in summer league was just all the confidence and composure he had. He was just different than everybody else on the floor, in that sense.
Yep. They've loaded up on defense and they've loaded up on shooting. And I like that idea, generally speaking. We'll spend more time on that at a later date, but I liked. Long story short of this episode, combining Keaton and Jacob together, 2 really good 2-ways, like really good 2-way signings. Anything can happen. Maybe in 3 months it hasn't worked out or whatever. But as far as like what we can know, what we can glean in the summer, short of a Jabari Walker, like how the world is that guy on a 2-way contract situation, which I still don't understand in Philly. short of that, like. They did really well in 2. I mean, NJ is, of course, much more of a wild card as a undrafted rookie who's still 20, 21. Yeah. But as far as like, if the goal was to get guys who they can trust to play in an NBA game, and that was part of the goal, I'm pretty sure, as the Hawks, they've done that, I think. So that's what they did.
And even NJ comes from a championship level team in Europe, right?
Oh, he's way more ready to play he's way more ready to play than most guys would be in that role. It's just I think offensively he's gonna have a little ways to go. But man, that one, I know it was only one game. His one game of summer league defensively was like, whoa, all right, I can see it. Especially up close and personal. It's like, oh, this guy's like an NBA level defender now.
Yeah, and he know again, it's another guy we talk about all the time. He knows what he can do. He deploys his strengths, deploys his talents, and leans into those things. He was so disruptive that one game. He defensively is so disruptive that one game he played. So again, I mean, it's kind of funny because you go back to before Quinn was hired, and the Hawks had like a completely different G League roster every year, like just turned over the whole roster every year, weren't really building anything, weren't really using it as a developmental kind of grounds.
We're not doing development.
Yeah, we're not doing development. Yeah. But you could see like Quinn putting Ryan Schmidt down there for year one, was just, I mean, it's a lab, for you to kind of grow your guys and grow their skills and all those things. And so I feel like sometimes I know some fans just want to watch the Hawks game. That's really all they want. But I feel like, for people who kind of really want to take the broad view, what they're doing at College Park and the development system they have set up is going to bear fruit. And there's a reason why good players are attracted to them, is because they believe in the development opportunity that exists there. And not just, sort of a transitory kind of thing where, oh, go play for this team this year. That, their guys want to be in the Hawks development system because they really invest. It can help them kind of grow their game. And I think that's an asset for the organization that maybe is underappreciated.
There you go, Glenn. We've tackled the two ways. I appreciate you doing this with me. It will be less sicko from here. Just some more names for people following this that we have to cover at some point between now and October 1. Kobe Buffkin, Veet Krejci, Dyson Daniels, Onyeka Okongwu, Zachary Ricochet, Jalen Johnson, Trae Young. And if we want to do the new guys, we could. Porzingis, Alexander Walker,
You should, yeah.
Kennard. So we got a bunch more to talk about. This is it. We did the sicko stuff first. I'm kind of dreading the Kobe response when because we're both higher on Kobe than everybody else seems to be, but that's okay. We'll get into that stuff later. Glenn, thank you for doing this as always. Please tell people where they can find all of your illustrious work on the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, so ATL 29's podcast home. I have a Patreon. You can find the link in my profile on both Twitter or X, whatever you're calling it, and Blue Sky. And the for me, the next 6-7 weeks is gonna be kind of video work on player by player. Try to do 1 or 2 a week there. I'm gonna probably crank one out tomorrow. And then, as I always say, the other guys I appreciate are Wes and Tim over Peachtree Hoops. Go support those guys too, because they do a lot of hard work.
Absolutely. Glenn, thanks for doing this again. I really appreciate it. We'll have more of these as time allows, and I spread them out a little bit if possible. But thank you, as always, for the time. Sincerely. As for everybody else, please subscribe to Locked On Hawks and ATL 29, and we'll see everybody next time.